I'm Risa, and these wonderful humans are fabulous family bloggers. And they all got to see your film, and now they're going to ask you as many questions as they possibly can in the next 20 minutes. We have Mr. Steve Zahn and Miss Diane Raphael. Thank you so, so much for joining us. We love this movie so much. And I'm going to start, Megan, sorry, I told Heather, since you weren't on yet, I'm going to start with Heather, and then I'm going to jump to you. So Heather is Pink Ninja Blogger. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. The movie was fantastic. I laughed and I cried. And I was just wondering if there's something focusing on the movie or just real life that you would want to bring from the 80s to now.
Oh, yeah, a lot of things. But we'd have to regress, wouldn't we? We'd have to go backwards in time. We'd have to shed some things, you know. Remember having arguments about like who was right about who was in a movie without having to look it up and are arguing for like, and now we do that. Isn't it interesting? You go like, no, don't look at your phone. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Let's
Everybody can be an
I-
expert now because we have all the information. Yeah.
But it's interesting how that technology has changed the dynamic of how we interact with each other and how families interact with each other and how we spend time together. You know, that's what I'd like to have back in some way. I happen to think that the pendulum has swung so far to this side that it has to start coming back. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so far over.
I think so too.
Does that
I
make
mean,
sense?
it does. I was going to say trickle down economics, but I guess that too. No, I feel the same. I'm like, it's not that I want to necessarily bring things from the 80s to now, but I do think that we're really nostalgic and most people are yearning for, more connection that's not through a screen and that feels more authentic in a way, and where every experience feels more special because we don't have everything at our fingertips, and where our choices were much more limited, things were special in a different way. And I think it's just harder as a parent to create that when, if you have the internet at home, your kids can have access all the time to kind of everything. So I think parenting kids and making sure that they don't just, function from that, like, you want something, you get it right now type of mentality is harder. And that's something I wish for.
Thank you so much. We call that in my house a boo yay, because it's kind of a boo, like it sucks that everybody has access to everything, but it's a yay because it's really easy to get information.
That's true.
Yeah.
Megan from Jaw Monkey.
Hi, thank you so much. So I would love to know, what would you describe as kind of the overall message that you want families to take away from this movie?
Ooh, I suck at that. Ooh.
I'm gonna take a stab, Steve. And
yeah, go for it.
I'll go for it. I'm heading in.
Oh man.
So
thank you.
So I think, overall well, listen, the message that I took away that I hope other people take away is, the time with your family, especially as a child, and is really hard to appreciate. And it's really hard to appreciate what our parents are doing for us when, as kids, understandably, we just want what we want. And we can't see, through their eyes, and we can't see their perspective. And, that's what I love about the movie, is that it helps us like create, or think about that lens of, it made me think about, oh God, my parents worked their asses off to create these special experiences for us that I know I wasn't as grateful for as I should have been. And yet I'm doing the same for my kids, and I don't expect them to like throw me a parade. I want to do that. And so it's this kind of like generational understanding that you get, and as you get older, and that's to me, seeing Neil Patrick Harris's character and the older Jake pass that same message on to his daughter, there's just some like beautiful generational like narratives that are like woven through the story that I just think it's really beautiful, and that's really what I hope people take away from it.
I agree. I think that's good. No, I do. I mean, I have parents that are getting old, and there was a pandemic, and we couldn't get together.
Yeah.
That's going to end, and then a new tradition will happen, and then my sisters will have to create a new tradition, and then my kids will have to create their new tradition when I'm gone, and then their kid. It's just kind of interesting. It's like, how do you keep it going?
Yep.
Nailed that.
Very valid point. Although my kids wanted to do a 4-person Thanksgiving again this year because they didn't want to have to deal with their grandparents. So that might be our new tradition. Christina. Oh, sorry, that sounded really bad, but it's true.
Oh, it's good.
Okay, thank you so much for being here with us today. My question is, was there a specific gift growing up that you wanted that you didn't get, or a favorite gift that you received?
Well, I think, God bless my parents, I got most of the things that I really asked for. The one thing I remember getting that I didn't want was my dad and I'm pretty sure they were from Filene's Basement, had purchased like a number of irregular sweatshirts that didn't fit anyone. They looked normal in the box, and then I put one on, and like one arm was like up here, the other armhole was down there. I mean, I couldn't believe they were even selling them. My dad was the kind of guy who just was like, it's a sweatshirt, it'll keep you warm. Like, who cares what it looks like? He didn't understand, having 3 daughters who cared deeply about fashion and clothes. And so I remember the Christmas where we all got multiple irregular sweatshirts, individually wrapped, and there was like a giant stack of presents, which we were so psyched about, and then realized they're all irregular sweatshirts. That was a tough Christmas.
That's awesome. I remember my dad spent weeks building me a train set that was on
too sweet.
that had mountains and streams and fields and handmade trees, and I had no clue until Christmas Eve, and I was blown away. And I knew as a kid how much time was put into that. Even as a little kid,
I did have that perspective.
Well, even as a kid, I knew how hard it was to do that, like plaster Paris and putting. And then, I remember that was pretty special. And my sister gave me a tub of Cool Whip.
Okay.
That was horrible.
Honestly, that sounds great though. Like you said that was the worst present you ever got. I'm like that.
Well, that's like when you're low on
your.
and I do this with my kids. It's like, you have to go get something for your brother.
Right. Like, I'll just go into the pantry.
And you have to, and don't ask them. I'm not buying it. You have to get them something. So we started that era, and that's when my sister was like, here's some Cool Whip.
Sure.
Like,
creative.
Right.
I like it. Works for me.
Like, all right.
I'm gonna
got you some peanut butter.
Thank you. Tobin, the good bad dad.
Oh, you're on mute, Tobin.
Mute.
I'm off mute. Sorry. Thanks for joining us. Hey, so June, I love the Minnesota Midwestern accent you used in the movie. So compliments on that. That's where I'm from originally. But my question's for you, Steve, and it's really more of a statement. My son we watched the movie as a family last night, and he said, Dad, you're going to talk to that guy. Can he tell you how to build that? So I'm afraid you've walked me into the ultimate dad fail here. So what do you, to all the dads that are going to get that question, how do we answer that?
Build the tree for it?
Yeah. Bill, how do you do it?
Yeah.
He thinks you did it. So since I'm talking to you,
actually,
you have to tell me how.
I've put up, I live on a farm in Kentucky. I actually grew up in Minnesota. I was born in Marshall and grew up in Mankato. My folks are still there. Anyway, I built a couple of tree forts for my kids. And they're pretty difficult. The one that was in the movie, I was like, you guys, there's no way this guy put this up so fast. That was a movie tree fort, by the way. I mean, you know, it's kind of like a tree fort. Like when you build it around a tree, it's not a good move because eventually the tree is going to rot. Let's say it rots next year. That's 20 years from now. It's going to move in the wind. You have to just, my suggestion is 4 posts in the ground and in the trees. So it's kind of, you know, you're.
Yeah, you set me up. I'm gonna fail at this, but thank you very much.
Ah, it's easy. Just look on YouTube, man.
Movie magic. I love it. Monica Young, will you join us, please?
Yeah, thank you for being here. I love the movie. It's so relatable. Like as looking at it, like watching it, it took me back when I was in the 80s. So I related to it as a kid, but it also now that I am a mom, I relate to it. So my question is for June. There was any scenes that were really challenging to be filming, playing the role of the mom, you know, like I love the scene that you gave them the breakfast and say it's frozen and they say just put it on your arms and then it will warm up. So there were any challenging scenes for you to film?
Oh gosh, were there any challenging scenes? Well, all of the scenes, you know, those types of scenes, well, when we were in the flashback scenes in the 80s were familiar to me, and I was really playing a version of my own mother who was a school teacher in the 80s, you know, in a very similar kind of economic sphere, and so much of it felt so familiar to me. But I think the thing that was more challenging was definitely the present day scene with Neil Patrick Harris, and you know, that was like kind of gut-wrenching and sad and harder. But the rest of the scenes, that, you know, Christmas morning and driving to the mall and being like the taskmaster at the mall, all of that felt not necessarily like how I am as a mom, but it felt very much so like I was just doing a version of the woman I know, you know, almost better than myself, my own mother. So it was really, it was not just easy, it was like, it was lovely to embody that.
It was really natural. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robin from Mom the Magnificent.
So I love that you guys have given us a new instant Christmas classic. And I'd love to know what you guys do to get in the Christmas spirit and what are your favorite holiday traditions?
Well, I'll start. I'm the guy who decorates. My wife is a writer, and she when I'm home, it's like she works and I take over the duties of shopping and laundry and all that stuff. So, but decorating is kind of my thing. So I'm carrying, you know, 13 bins from the attic down. And now my kids are older, so I can go, hey, go get the bins now. You know what I mean? So I have a little help. And then I always take it down New Year's Eve after everyone goes, and I'm that guy. I take it down and I don't stop until like 4 a.m. till it's gone.
Yep.
Gotta be
I
gone.
similarly am like, it's gotta go January 1. It's gotta
Oh.
go. I don't want to see any bit of it come
Mhm.
January 1. I'm trying to think. I mean, we do all the things, you know. So we purchase our tree the weekend of Thanksgiving, and then it's up as soon as possible, but we don't get it beforehand. And you know, we bring up all the stuff and look through the ornaments, talk about them. I have a lot of my own childhood ornaments, so does my husband, and so it's just lovely. And the last couple of years, the kids are old enough to kind of join in on a lot of that stuff. The thing that we've started doing is, instead of just opening all of the presents at once, we now, well, we've never done any other way, actually. We have the kids open a present, play with it, and then open up another, their brother will open up his present. So we spent this last Christmas literally opening presents the whole day because it's nice and prolonged and relaxed. And I don't know how these kids are okay with it, because I think if I were a child, that would drive me crazy. But they've just accepted that this is how it's going. And it's quite nice because it's not just a Christmas morning, it's like a whole day.
You've taught them patience. I mean,
I know.
My
They
kids,
have put
I don't know
shit
how.
together.
it's
I
impressive.
remember having little kids, man. It was like all day with like putting shit together.
Right? The
So
worst.
every year I say to myself, you know what? I'm going to like put it together the night before, put the batteries in it, like construct it,
No.
and then wrap it. But it never quite happens.
No. Mm-mm. Kathy Cupkit, who's wearing that fabulous hat. Let's do it.
Thank you. Steve, June, thank you so much for being here. And this movie is an instant classic, just like all the other Warner Brothers movies, Elf and everything else. Tell me, when you guys got the script, what drew you to your character? What similarities do you have to your character?
Well, the character reminded me so much of my own mom, and I had an immediate affection for her, and I felt very close to the character because because she reminded me so much of my mom, who was a public school teacher and overwhelmed all the time, but we also were well loved if in living in chaos. So that sort of dynamic of not necessarily on all of it and lots of loose threads running around the house, and you'll probably think someone forgot to pick you up like multiple times a week, but you also knew you were loved and taken care of, and that sort of type of mothering and parenting felt so familiar to me, and that's really why I wanted to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I adhered to this guy who thinks he can fix things. I mean, I can fix some things, but again, I live on a farm. That's all I do really, but half of the things I don't fix because I can't. That's a quality that and I'm kind of like this guy, go outside and play guy. That's me really. But what makes me different than this guy is I was always like, no, we're going hiking. I did it with him. You know what I mean? And I think nowadays, this generation, I mean, we do more with our kids than my folks. My folks my mom would lock the door. She would go out. And if you didn't come back by 5 o'clock, because we ate supper, and it's called supper in Minnesota. If you weren't there by 5:15, you were dead. You know what I mean? But the whole day you didn't have to check in, So I have a lot of those qualities that I found that John has, but just not as harsh. That's all.
Simpler times.
I'm the ridiculous one. My wife is really like, she's smart, like on it, I'm the entertainment coordinator of the family.
I love it. Okay, last question, you guys. Sorry. Amy Fulcher from As the Bunny Hops.
I feel like we've been really deep, and so I'm going to end it with something that's kind of silly, but I grew up playing Atari and then Nintendo, and now that we're well beyond that technology, I still go back and play those old school 8-bit games. So I'm wondering, did you guys grow up playing video games as well? And do you have that connection to those old school games? Are you into the modern, really high tech, amazing graphic games that you have available now?
I'm into all of them. I mean, I'll game with my son. What?
I said, you'll take them any which way. You'll take an old one, a new one.
But then I got I have an Asteroids arcade in the basement. I got a Miss Pac-Man Galaga tabletop. I got a
That's fun.
I got a Addams Family pinball. I dig that. But like my assistant and I, for years in my trailer when I was shooting the film, all we played was 2001 NHL hockey on PlayStation. But it had to be 2001. It was a great year. You could turn off all the penalties and just fights. It was insane.
Right. Steve Zahn, we're all coming to your farm to play video games is basically.
Oh, let's go.
Right?
Yeah, when my wife would take away video games from my son, I would be behind my son going, because we played together. That was my entertainment.
That was, yeah, so you had to suffer the consequences.
My daughter never played. She hated it.
Oh my God. All right. Well, open invitation, people. We're all going to Steve.
All right, come on in.
Thank you guys so much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Steve, my son says, please say hi to Mr. Heffley. So hello.
Hi.
All right. Bye, guys.
Have a good
Thank
day,
you all
guys.
so
Bye-bye.
much.